Welcome back to It's All Bad. My name's Keith.
I'm Russ and Danny.
This is Mike.
I'm Charlie.
This week we have a couple. She's from Texas. He's from here, but they both moved to Austin right before this lockdown thing. And they have a thing called We're Those People, and they're pretty great. They're from two completely different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Frank's dad was a Hell's Angel and the editor, Easy Rider, and Erika's father was a surgeon.
From Paraguay.
From Paraguay, right.
Yeah. Dude,
but,
maybe one of the most amazing rehab love stories I've ever heard.
That on the Love Boat.
Just incredible.
Like, that's what they used to call it at Impact. Like if somebody was having a fling, all secret, you'd all have to sit in the conference room until somebody told on him and gave him up. But they called it the Love Boat.
Amazing.
He's got such an incredible energy, and I was so intimidated initially, but then endeared. Like you're like, oh, of course that's why you found this guy amazing. Like, I don't know, women get that stuff like in a different way than men do. They sense it or whatever. But yeah, just absolutely like an adorable couple. I really, really enjoyed talking to them.
Yeah, we got to hook up. Charlie the Hustler with Frank. Those fools would vibe.
Dude.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but check them out. Their Instagram is we are those people.
It's We Are Those PPL.
Yeah, PPL.
Yep. We Are Those PPL. The org is wearethosepeople.com. Hope you enjoy a little bit. This is a little different. This is a little bit of a different episode, but a
little different, but still so good.
Yeah, but super sweet. Really good.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Frank, am I crazy that you had a lowrider when you were like 16 or 15 or something?
I had an Impala, a 64 Impala.
Yeah.
I had a 67 Impala. I had a 55 Buick.
That's what I'm thinking of. The Buick. You had that before you were 18, right?
Yeah, I had everything. Kids, cars, bikes.
That's classic.
When's the last time you were in Austin, Keith? Or Texas?
About like a year and a month ago.
Oh wow.
Like not this past December, the one before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
Austin. Oh, you're from
Austin.
Texas, all right? I always forget.
I'm from Texas, yeah. I grew up in Corpus Christi, but
Yeah, I married into it. I'm not just another California guy that moved to Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't just come here to gentrify the hell out of Texas. I married into it. There's a little bit more commitment.
My grandfather lived in Corpus Christi. In
Oh,
the
really?
30s and 40s, yeah.
Oh wow.
The Corpus Christi's by the ocean, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a beach town.
I actually shot a commercial there a couple of years ago. There's like
Did you really?
yeah, isn't there like an aircraft carrier there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. I was telling Frankie crazy thing about Frank is I remember Frank having a job when he was, literally like working full time at 15 or 16 years old.
Yeah.
Tattooing.
Mm-hmm.
I know a handful of people like that, but I'm not one of those people. I can't keep a job when I'm loaded,
Yeah.
Yeah, me neither.
Danny.
What up? What's up, Frank? How you doing? Hey, Erika.
Hey,
how
how's
you
it going,
doing?
Danny?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to move the computer over here. I got one. Yeah,
Danny, you met Erika before too? I know you know Frank, but
no, never met Erika.
No.
oh, okay.
I'm just saying hi. I'm just being friendly. Shit.
I saw you doing the
He's like, you know her, dog?
thing.
Oh, you saw the Narcan thing. Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
I did. I did.
Yeah, it was good, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So is everyone here in recovery?
Just me and
Oh.
Danny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get sober in Orange County, Erika?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so crazy. I was so out of my mind, even still sober. It took me like a year to get my brain back to just kind of normal.
Yeah.
So, but she was there for me for that while.
That's
which
great.
was great. She taught me what the term terminally unique meant. So thank you. Not terminally unique. I was like, excuse me? What?
That's amazing. Can you explain that for the folks out there who don't know what? I mean, I'm one of those folks. I don't know. I think I know what it means, but I think it's. I'd like to hear.
So it's basically like, when you're first getting into recovery, a lot of times you think that like your traumas are the only traumas and nobody else has experienced them, and like nobody's seen the darkness, and like it's just all, and nobody can top your trauma, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So saying you're not terminally unique is like, calm down, killer. Like you're not that unique. Like you're,
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like that thing of like, you don't know my pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, actually we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty common, yeah. But most people are really offended the first time they hear that.
Yeah.
Because you in some way minimalize their suffering, But there's a freedom in learning that what you're going through, everyone else has went through. So it's also like a turning point to find out that you're not alone in your suffering when you accept that you're not terminally unique.
Well, and I think it also like cuts through the denial. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that it's not that serious. It is serious, but it's not like you're not the only one.
Well, and the feeling that you get, I mean, from just doing this show and also just, living life and having lots of different kinds of friends and different experiences, it's like you see that one of the themes that comes with addiction is isolation, right? Like people get kind of, and there is this sense, I think that, I mean, I certainly have known when I've been at my worst, there are these senses where you're like, oh yeah, like no one could understand this thing that I'm going through. This is so specific to me. And it's so ego connected that it feels totally insurmountable. Like, how could I ever fix this? This is me. I've dealt with that with, mental illness, with OCD, where like, part of it is you're like, whoa, there's no way anybody's going to be able to figure this out. There's like, no, there's thousands of people just like you. And so let's, so we got to get on with it here. You're just like, okay, cool. Good to know. Got it. But it does. Yeah, it's weird. Yep.
I think that like at first, before you really get into like recovery, everything is so serious and so like dark and so dramatic and everything. And it is, but and with time, when you start to realize that like, you can laugh about certain things now, those things that were so dark before, like now you can laugh about them.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I also think it's helpful when you finally realize, oh, so-and-so's been through that same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially all the childhood trauma and stuff that goes along with it,
Well, I think like the point of, if you watched Erika's TED Talks, at the heart of what we're trying to do with We Are Those People is to erase stigma.
Right.
By normalizing this a lot more. And I think that we've seen a little bit more of it normalized with the work Dr. Drew did, with Celebrity Rehab and Intervention and all these shows are on TV. Like when we were young, Keith, that stuff wasn't on TV, right?
Right.
And addiction and alcoholism wasn't even considered a medical disease. Like health insurance didn't pay for treatment. And so it was like, it's almost like watching an evolution of human consciousness, that we're kind of coming to this point, even with like We Are Those People, trying to create a safe space on social media and on the internet, and with our docuseries, trying to document individuals' experiences with addiction and recovery, and trying to highlight them being creative in their recovery and successful and enjoying life. Like that's like that alone like erases stigma when people see someone start to blossom in their recovery. And even today, like my father, he was the editor for Easy Rider magazine, and he was like a big time biker guy, and it's funny like today, because you hear that term toxic masculinity and you hear, but when I was a kid, like that was cool, right? Toxic masculinity, like Hell's Angels.
That was what it meant to be masculine.
And like, yeah, I was like, wow, you know, and it's like now, like, you know, we're learning so much about how, you know, people are making it up as they go along, right? You know, and all of us are in this journey together. And you know, the generation that we grew up in with like the punk rockers and the skaters, and it was still like a lot of the counterculture from the drug revolution in the 60s and 70s, right? And now it's not cool to do any of that stuff anymore. Like it's cool if you're like sober and you're like spiritual and doing yoga and shit, you know, everybody's going hiking. Like there's like a mental health, like, you know, movement, you know, and
right.
But still, like like you highlighted about the isolation, you know, it is the disease of isolation. And that's why we are those people kind of took off in the quarantine, because finally, you know, people were really isolated.
Yeah.
And all they had was the internet to communicate. And we just kind of opened it up and created a safe place, you know. So, you know, it doesn't get more grassroots than what we got. You know what I mean? Like, we're a nonprofit and we're definitely not making a profit. We're just helping people.
Yeah.
We're being creative, you know, while we're doing it. And that's what we're trying to encourage in other people, to be more creative, you know, and sharing their stories. That was Erika's big thing. Like, you know, like kind of Erika wanted to invite people and to inspire people to open up. Like you were open up about your OCD or depression, and make it more normal, you know, so people can let people know they're not alone.
Yeah, and it's not just for the people who are suffering or struggling, not just for the addict, also for the families, but also for people in recovery. Like, I still need to know that you understand that it's still a struggle, you know. It's, you know, it's not, I'm not cured, you know, this is something that I live with on a daily basis. And I want to know that you understand that as well. And so that's kind of like what the community is all about. So if that makes sense.
So you're a writer, right, Mike?
I am.
Yeah. So my father, he was, you know, a journalist. He writes books, microfiction novels, and you know, he made it like okay to be rebellious, but still be like creative and successful, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think like writers and artists know that the pain of isolation more than anyone, right? And just this morning, I heard a friend of my father's. I run my father's Instagram page, and he has a website. It's like an online magazine, bikernet.com. And a good longtime friend of his, artist that drew all his little like captions, he committed suicide, or died by suicide. And I had to break the news to him, and it's, you know, he was really lonely in the quarantine. He was an older gentleman, and his ex-wife was writing me from New Zealand, and it makes me like want to do more work, you know, to try to reach people more, you know, like try to create more safe spaces that people aren't being charged a bunch of money, you know, just to be able to seek support, you know.
Yeah.
And we have the resources to do it with, you know, like with the internet, like with social media, with whatever. Like literally, it's just taking advantage of like what's being used to like sell us some fucking shit that we Google, you know, like it's like taking the power from it back and like being able to use it for good, rather than like, hey, check out this, whatever. I don't know, whatever the fuck I looked up. I don't even want to talk about my Google history.
Yeah, I'm in Austin, Texas, but the great part about Zoom is my home groups are in Venice Beach with my son. My son and my daughter, oldest son and oldest daughter, are also sober. My son's also a tattoo artist, and I get to, you know, Zoom in with him and do meetings, and it's kind of a trip, you know, how that works. I'm sponsoring a guy in Japan. I'm sponsoring a guy in in Denver, one in Marfa, Texas, and because of the internet and Zoom, I can keep in contact with all of them.
Another thing that's kind of fascinating about the balls is this is kind of always like that. Well, Frank's father's a writer, right? So he's a creative. Frank's been drawing since, I remember, I'm telling you, he was tattooing when he was 14 or 15. But the really weird thing is it hasn't skipped a generation because Frankie and Maxine can also draw, which is pretty odd. Usually you have a break. Yeah, but they don't. They have a strong, like this weird stream that keeps going, which is pretty baffling. But it's kind of like a ball thing through their bloodline.
My youngest daughter just graduated from Mills College in Oakland with her bachelor's in media arts, and
she can draw too, Frank?
No, she's an actor. So she's
okay.
Acting and drama.
I've never met the baby one. I only know Frankie and Maxine.
Mm-hmm. Well, my wife, when she started volunteering for the AFSP. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah.
So when I first got sober, I was living in Costa Mesa, and I, talking about service work and things like that. And I was really drawn to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, having my own history with, suicide and things like that. And so I was just really drawn to it. And I started volunteering, and I started advocating through them. They advocate for mental health care reform. And so that was something that I got into. And then I just became an advocate and a volunteer. And I've done that pretty much for the past 5 years. And they have like an annual walk, Out of the Darkness walk. But in June of 2018 or 2019, they have an annual forum where they get people from all over the United States to go to Washington, D.C., and you actually get to advocate at Capitol Hill. And so I was able to do that, which was that was so amazing and super rewarding. And it taught me a lot about like what I wanted to do, what we wanted to do with our organization. I learned a lot from them. And I actually still do advocacy work through them. And then another organization called Shatterproof. That was pretty cool. I got to meet one of Patrick Kennedy, who's like a huge advocate for mental health care reform, and he's got his own organization. And that was pretty cool.
You guys did a thing last year as well, right? In Austin, that was like a walk for something.
Yeah, that was the AFSP.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember that on Instagram. Yeah.
So we did that one 2 years ago. And then last year, we actually had our own booth.
Our first booth.
Right.
Our first We Are Those People booth.
Yeah. And it was the first virtual, like, social distance event they ever had. So it was our first event ever. So it was good. Just, different, I guess. They normally have like thousands and thousands of people walking through, but obviously this year was a little bit different, or last year. So, but we want to get out and do more events, and we want to, be a presence and continue to advocate and raise awareness and talk to people and, do fundraisers and things like that. So, yeah.
So Erika, let's start with you. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you ended up in recovery? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up, actually, we moved around a lot. My parents are both immigrants from Paraguay, a little country in South America. Yeah. I know. And so I grew up with my, kind of speaking Spanish first, and then I learned English when I was like in kindergarten or something like that. And my dad was a doctor. My mom worked alongside him. And so I basically was raised in Corpus Christi, Texas, which is like South Texas. And I don't know, it was, I guess my my childhood was pretty uneventful. Not, nobody in my family drank or did drugs or anything like that. That it was kind of a hostile home at times. It was kind of tough, but I love my family, and overall it was a good childhood. But it was a strict household. So like I couldn't like spend the night at kids' houses. I couldn't do like things that like all the other kids were doing. And so I think that like after I left home, I just kind of lost my shit.
Well, Texas is a pretty alcoholic state, though. You know what I mean? Like,
that's the thing, dude. You can get a drive-through margarita in Texas, and I have done that. Like the kind of drinking that I do when I'm in Texas, particularly Austin, is it's better that I don't go there that much. It's drinking and eating.
Actually, Austin,
bad.
Yeah, Austin is where all the craziness began. So like 6th Street, and it was, for me, it was just started out just like drinking and maybe doing ecstasy every once in a while, or whatever. I guess I did shrooms once or something, and then it turned in. Then I started doing cocaine, and then that turned into, crazy. Like for me, it turned crazy really fast, to where, I just wouldn't be like. If I was in school, I wouldn't be able to finish school. I had to, quit jobs, or I was fired. And I moved around a lot, like from place to place to place to place, just trying to start over and over and over for like 20 years. And I went through sober livings. I went to, I had 5150s, psych wards, treatment centers, all of it, everything. And I guess I got sober for one time for almost 2 years, which was back in like 2010. And that was the first time I kind of experienced what recovery was. But I guess I stopped doing recovery, and I stopped going to meetings, stopped doing the things that I'm supposed to do. And I ended up relapsing.
Well, I think the part about also with Erika's story is her father was a doctor. He went to medical school in Argentina, and he interned in Detroit. I actually love her father. He's a great guy. He's 93 years old, super cool. But Erika grew up that you trusted doctors.
Right.
So, one of the biggest parts of her story is that spoke out to me, and is she trusted doctors. So when she started having, when she started struggling with her alcoholism and mental health, she started taking whatever,
Oh yeah. Taking lots of medications, and if this doesn't work, then let's put you on this, and let's increase dose, and let's try this, and let's try that. And I honestly think that all of that medication that I was given actually wasn't good for me. I ended up with like suicidal ideation and all of those things that are the side effects. That's not to say that I probably wasn't using them right. So that was a huge part of my story. Just like being like a pharmaceutical guinea pig, just not knowing. And like I remember going to my therapist one time, and they had put me on all these different medications, and I was like, am I ever going to be okay? What can I do? I don't want to be on these medications anymore. Can you please help me? Because like I was not doing well. And they were like, well, we just need to up your dose of whatever. And I was like, fuck this. Like, no, I can't do this anymore. Like, I have to do something else. And then I ended up, relapsing even harder, just, and so, yeah, lots of therapy, lots of medications.
Yeah.
So
when I got sober, that was like in 99 or 2000, it was like that was kind of the forefront of them trying to like solve my alcoholism. You know what I mean? With medications.
Yeah.
But they're like, they had me on this one called Celexa, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on Celexa, but the weird thing is similar to your story, but I went and saw the guy and he goes, "Hey, we're going to switch you to Lexapro." And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well, it's like an improved version of Celexa." I'm like, "Yeah, but what's wrong?" You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, "Fuck, I'm doing okay." And eventually when I quit taking them, I think I've told Frank this before, but it was like kicking dope. Like I quit taking them and it was like, I felt like I was dying, you know?
Yeah.
So I remember all that. Yeah.
I had one doctor tell me, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to switch you up and we're going to put you on this." It was called Brintalex. And he's like, "The reason why I'm giving you Brintalex is because it's for brilliant people." I was like, "Oh my God, you gotta be kidding me."
No way.
I get like, no.
That's amazing.
Ridiculous.
Well, and even like when I've talked with her father about it, like he read the book Alcoholics Anonymous, and he would, in a very endearing way, he would share that as a doctor, how helpless he felt because he couldn't help his daughter.
Yeah.
Like he understood, and he had other patients that he would try to help them with their alcoholism. But even though the alcoholism is a diagnosed medical condition, there are no medical cures.
Right.
That's what we learn in AA, that the cure is a spiritual program. It may be a cognitive behavioral, program, in essence, but it's built upon spiritual principles, right?
Right.
So what the relevance of, like, for me, like Erika's story, was that she had these experiences with big pharma, and she was also going to school to be a drug and alcohol counselor, and she had already done some internships with nonprofits in Texas before I met her, and she relapsed, with like one class to go. Yeah. And she came to California and fell into my amazing arms, right? So, and I'm like this super tough street smart, guy, like I went to Impact back in the day. It's like hardcore street, knowledge, stuff. And we were already armed with a lot of information against big pharma, you know what I mean, back then. And that the only road, but we were already taught to be very cautious of any medications and to lean, more on a spiritual solution, right?
Right.
And what impressed me is when Erika went to Washington, D.C., getting back to We Are Those People, was that she was advocating for mental health law reform and advocating to get more funding for more suicide prevention. Mm-hmm. And like now they have a hotline, right? A new like mental health hotline. Yeah, it's 3-digit. Instead of calling 911, you'll call that, and that's the kind of stuff that it's like, if you've ever been through addiction and been locked up and been, in a 5150 or had to do time behind something that was really a mental health issue, or had a loved one that you were absolutely, like with my son, there were times when I was completely, even with everything I knew, I mean, you have a mentally ill person who needs help, and then you hit all these dead ends and all these bottoms where there's no help, Mm-hmm. And it was like, man, that's really what we would like to do with We Are Those People. Like, is raise awareness and try to get some people, try to inspire some people who want to get involved, so we can raise funds and do more of that advocacy in Washington, D.C. And you know what I mean, in every community, on a city level, because that's what we need more of. I mean, if you live in Venice or here in Austin, the homelessness epidemic is insane. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just getting worse and worse, right? And it's like,
tell us about it. It's insane out here. It's insane. It's
it's crazy here
too. Madness.
Yeah, and they just legalized here in Austin that you could pitch a tent. So it's like, why are they letting these people pitch tents out in front of $1 million homes and businesses that are trying to, you know what I mean? And it's like, I can't explain it. You know, it's like how strange it is to me how the legislature and the government are going about trying to help mental health. You know what I mean?
Why are we not? I mean, you know, why are we not investing? I mean, you, I'm sure, are more than familiar with what's happening in LA and the outrageous prices they're putting on these like sheds, that these eco sheds that they want to build, but without any mind to the kind of access to mental health care, be it holistic, spiritual, a combination of it all, probably is maybe even who knows, whatever you need, like that has to come first. You can't just be like, all right, cool, there's your house, you're going to be fine. We'll check in with you. We'll check in with you in a month. Seems like things are going well, so I predict that everything will be great in a month. Like, it's madness.
No, I mean,
it just is. It makes me so crazy that that there is this, we're this advanced place, where this evolved society, but yet people still don't feel comfortable talking about mental illness, treating diseases like alcoholism and addiction as real diseases. Like, and it's crazy.
Well, what you just said is the most poignant and profound point you could make in our advanced society.
Yeah, right.
When you can, like, I heard Lewis Black telling jokes last night about free 2-day shipping. You know what I mean? Like how amazing that is. Yeah. I mean, like, you know what I mean? We have all this technology, right? And yet the suicide numbers are highest than they've ever been before in the history of man. And the overdose numbers are higher than they've ever been. And the homelessness numbers are higher than they've ever been. How is that? How is that we're approaching the most progressive time ever in history, but yet our mental health is failing worse than in World War II?
Because we're more, yeah, right. Because we're more focused on putting fucking electric cars on the moon or whatever. Crab walking Hummers that crab walk, so billionaires can fucking don't have to parallel park.
I can't even. Christ. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin. But that's the whole point, is having these conversations.
I think like what Erika,
them,
what Erika was talking about, I think is really a lot. I mean, there's obviously mental illness across the board, but what Erika was saying is like, these doctors are going like, well, here, try this. And if that doesn't work, we'll try that, like kind of guinea pigging all these people. Mm-hmm. And I think they've created, much like those of us who are here have got, we're fortunate, but a lot of people, like they're like, so there's some guys Frank and I grew up with, like Joel Clark, like pushes a shopping cart, what I mean? Like dudes that have literally like, David Madrid, like guys who literally like, it's just, they're no longer in line with themselves, and it's what Erika was saying is like this kind of like guinea pig thing. If it catches you, I mean, you might not be able to get back, mm-hmm. And I think they've created a bunch of people like it, because I'm no doctor, but it sure seems like what Erika was saying is just kind of like how they were handing the oxys out. They were doing that same thing with the antidepressants, like, oh, try this. And then somebody's like, hey, you know what? Give this to these people in Austin, or give this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're really legalized drug dealers, these big pharma people,
Yeah.
The worst.
That's one of the issues that we advocate for, as well as evidence-based treatment, which is, giving proper medication, and knowing what kinds of medications to give. And then also another thing that we advocate for is for people to have good insurance, not just an insurance that pays for like a 7-day rehab or, detox or something, but a person who's been slamming dope for 10 years is not going to get sober off of a 30-day, stint in rehab, and that's even if the insurance gives you 30 days, that doesn't always happen. If you have bad insurance or like inadequate insurance or no insurance at all, it's kind of like, go figure it out. And it shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't have to reach, a stage 4 crisis mental health where you're wanting to kill yourself. We should be able to prevent that from happening catch it before that happens, And that's kind of the point of trying to normalize. Hey, let's talk about it. Let's not pretend or keep this a secret or be in denial. This is a real issue and it's killing people.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's the number one killer of young adults, and the death rate amongst high school students in the pandemic from overdoses and suicides is 4 times, larger than any COVID deaths, because of everybody being isolated and everybody being cut off from support and social gatherings and that's real.
The addiction was the pandemic before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The opioid pandemic. Yeah.
Right.
This is just the after pandemic.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Alcoholics Anonymous was an anonymous program, and I respect those traditions, but mental health is bigger than just alcoholism or addiction. It covers a more wider scope of problems and needing a wider scope of solutions. But I'll share that even when I came to Austin, I was driving in a car and I heard on the radio, and it was an advertisement on the radio for Narcotics Anonymous. And it was like, that was kind of a sign to me that the problem is getting so bad that we can't afford to be anonymous anymore and wait for people to hit those bottoms. You know what I mean? With with fentanyl floating around, and that we have to be more openly anonymous and make these solutions more available to people. And like I said, to me, it was a little bit more inspiring, what my wife was doing with AFSP, that maybe we could do something more with We Are Those People, to do that.
That was more focused on, substance use disorder and mental health, because AFSP is more mental health and for the survivors of people who died by suicide.
Right.
So, yeah. So.
Frank, can you give these guys your backstory?
Well, I'll give like the short version. I was born in Torrance, California in 1974. My father was a Hell's Angel. My mother was really young. It was like I shared that, it was like the drug revolution, the sex revolution, Vietnam War, and then like there came Generation X, right? And so it was like, it was like the bikers and the hippies, and then it was like the skaters and the punk rockers and, all that stuff. And I grew up in Long Beach and San Gabriel Valley. I think it was like 97% Hispanic or something in most of the neighborhoods I grew up in. There was a large gang, culture, growing up. And I started tattooing when I was 15 years old. And I think I moved to Hollywood and was working with Mark Mahoney at 17 years old. And I had Frankie Jr. at 18. And, all my role models, like I said, were like Hell's Angels and tattoo artists and crazy gangsters and crazy skinheads and all this stuff. And those were my role models. And so, you were raised to be a violent man, you had to hold your drugs, you had to be able to control your drug use and your alcoholism. Like they wear these things as like a badge of honor, right? And then I think I was like 21, 22 when, the older tattoo artists I were working with, and I was always like a big kid, they were kind of scared of me. Like they were like, this guy needs help, because I was just a really dark individual. And I was like, it was like I had a really heavy heart. And then I went to my first NA meeting at Impact with Rada Sputo. And I had, a moment where like some light shined into the darkness that was my soul. And I knew that, you know, the steps and the traditions that were up on the wall were a truth. And even though I wasn't ready to accept them at the time, I knew it was kind of like, yeah, my grandmother was right. Like God's real, and all the stuff I learned on the streets, even though it may be a reality, it wasn't the only reality. And it was then, you know, that it started a journey for me of going in and out of, you know, programs. And after my first divorce, I was like presented with the problem that now I had to get my shit together, because I didn't have an old lady that would just take care of the kids. I had to be like mentally fit to like have visitations, and I had to, like, you know what I mean, pay child support and all. So like it became a thing of manageability, and I just would go in and out, and I'd get frustrated and I'd rebel. And of course I ran in the toughest of crowds. I ran in the hardest of crowds, you know, just so I when I would get myself into trouble, it wasn't just trouble, it was big trouble. And like you had shared earlier, it was like I was always expected to hold my mud and to handle things. Like people just expected that of me my whole life. I never got to be the like loser junkie son that, like, you know, leached off his mom for years. I mean, like I always had to handle things, and I had kids so young that it forced me to seek it out. And I'd get locked up, and then I'd sober up, but finally I ended up in Orange County down in Newport Beach. And you know, I found I finally left West Hollywood and stuff and went down there and got sober and raised my kids and did my best, you know what I mean, to be a father. And I found like these like Christian biker guys, and they were like these surfer Christian churches, skater Christian and Soys, and, you know, Hurley, you know, Ryan Hurley, the Hurley family, and that I would hang out with the kids. And even though I didn't fully, you know, I didn't fully subscribe to all the politics that the Christian church was about, it was just a safe place, I guess, to take the kids and stay sober, you know. And most of the guys were all ex-convicts and ex-gang members, and, you know, they were sober now and had Harleys and lived by the beach. And you know, I held on to it. But then after my second divorce, I went through a relapse. I moved back to Hollywood, and you know, I got myself into some deep trouble and got arrested, and I was looking at 10 years in prison. And I had gotten my son sober, and my son had, you know, kind of followed in my footsteps. And my son bailed me out of jail. So that was my big bottom, you know, having to have my own son bail me out of jail. And I've been sober ever since then. It's been 5 years, going on 6 years. And I met my wife, and that brings us up today.
I think, yeah, I've known Frank for a long time, and you know, he never did get to be a kid. That's the honest truth. I like, because Frank's 4 years younger than me, but it's weird. Like all of us think Frank's our age, but there's quite a bit of difference. He's 4 years younger than any of us.
Yeah.
And he literally was working in tattoo shops at that age. And the other thing he did, which he didn't really mention, is like the amount of like drug use and alcoholism is at tattoo shops is fucking mind bending, you know. And
yeah, well, you know, when I was working on Sunset Boulevard all those years,
yeah,
because it's like, it's kind of hard to describe that, the magnitude and level of, you know, like, you know, it was like too young, too much fame and fortune, too young out there with tattooing, you know.
Yeah.
And people would come and visit me and work at Tattoo Mania, and they would get high the way I was getting high, you know, and they would be like, oh my God, they'd be like, Frank, you do this all the time, huh? I'm like, it's every day. It's every day, man. What are you talking about? You know, and it was pretty intense, you know what I mean? To like all of a sudden decide that I'm, you know, just going to stop that.
I used to, it's weird. We used to talk about like you and Rick and Dougie and stuff. And I was like, because I was newly sober, but I was like, fuck, man. I'm like, these guys are making just thousands of dollars a day. And really, like Frank, Dougie, Rick, all those guys, all they had to do really is make it to work, you know, at 11, and then make it home. You know, they're in a pretty safe, like almost like a safe dope house of their own, where they're literally making money while they're using, which is, there's not really anything else like it, you know. The tattoo
you know, what's
business.
Crazy is the difference though in the culture today.
Oh,
like the
today,
tattoo
yeah.
shops I'm in now, These kids would, like, you know what I mean? They'd piss themselves if they had to like be around Gilmonty and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Smiling Paul and, you know what I mean? Like, it was rough back in the 90s and the 80s, right? Like, and everything's so gentrified now, you know what I mean? Like, it's a different world, you know?
Smiling Paul killed himself, right?
He sure did.
Yeah.
Sure did. And I actually just got some photos of me and Gil and Mark and Tom Tilden. Good photos that I'm getting developed right now.
Oh,
Because I was
great.
asked to do like a tattoo history thing, and it's pretty wild, you know. Because I thought those guys were old back then, but really they weren't that old. You know what I mean?
It's not that. It's just you were so much younger than everybody. I mean, because I'm younger than most of them, and you're younger than me. So, you know, if you think about like the Tattoo Mania, the next person in age to you was probably like Cisco, right, or something, and he's 5 or 6 years older than you.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe Rob Dringenberg or something.
Oh yeah. But Rob's still a few years older than you, even. Yeah. But so how did you two meet?
So I went to treatment in Orange County, and I was at a sober living, and I just went into a tattoo shop because I wanted to get tattooed. And Frank was there, and actually the first time I met him, I was attracted to him immediately. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get out of here. I can't do this, you know, because you know, the whole thing of like your first year, no relationships, no, you know, and I was so afraid. I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here right now.
Oh, you didn't even know he was sober or anything.
What's that?
You didn't even know he was sober or anything.
No, I didn't know anything. I didn't know.
That's great.
Yeah. So I left, and
she made an appointment and then she flaked.
Yeah, I made an appointment. I didn't go up. And then were you?
I was an inpatient at Pat Moore.
Yeah.
And they would let me out, and they'd give me my tattoo, put my cell phone, and I'd go to work down the street for a couple hours, and then I would come back. You know, I was basically doing time on the outside,
right?
You know, in inpatient, and I had a 10-year court sentence over my head, and I had a violation of a parole because I was on parole for a gun charge, and I didn't know if I was going to go back to prison or what, and so I really wasn't like trying to like. I really wasn't picking up on any signals at the time, if you know what I mean. I was kind of stressed out, and but I remember, you know, catching her eye and thinking, wow, you know, like she's really pretty. And then when she didn't show up to her appointment, I was kind of blue, you know. But then after I got out of outpatient, you know, they gave me my Harley, my stuff back, and I went into inpatient, or I got out of inpatient and I was going into outpatient, and I went to check in, and there she was working at the front desk.
No way.
You know, and
really?
You know, I was like, hey, you know, I remember you. And then, you know, she came and got tattooed by me, and, you know, time went on, and I was actually working at a Christian tattoo parlor down there, and it was just, they call it the Rehab Riviera down there. It's just rehabs all the way from Malibu to Laguna Beach, right? And so all these people from all over the country were there in rehab, and they were all coming to get tattooed. And so I started having like sober holidays at the tattoo parlor because I wasn't allowed to leave Costa Mesa anyway. And I wasn't really talking to my family at the time, and I invited her to like a Thanksgiving.
No, he posted on Facebook or something like that. He was like, anybody who's from out of state who has nothing to do for New Year's, the shop is open. Come and have New Year's here. And I was like, I'm not going to spend New Year's in my sober living by myself. Like, so I forced myself actually, and I went, and then we just kind of like, you know, kind of hit it off from there.
It's kind of funny. Yeah. It's like that movie Love and Other Drugs though, in some ways, because like we both had health net. We both had health net insurance.
Yeah.
And so I got bailed out. I got health insurance. I got a lawyer, all that stuff. and I was able to beat the case, or I settled out I got to do time on the outside, and we both had health net, and so I did 90 days inpatient, 90 days outpatient, and it would, for some reason, health net quit paying right at the same time that I was finishing up, and so she was looking for a sober living, and I was leaving, and so we moved in together. That's what happened. You know what I mean? It was so weird. Like you know what I mean? Like you're adults, you're in your 40s, and you got to get an overnight pass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was weird, but it was love and rehab, I guess. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
Yeah, but it happened. It exists.
Yeah.
So cool.
But I didn't think she was going to stick around. I thought she'd get scared, when she learned more about, my past and everything. And I got her a car and everything. And I told her, I didn't want any pressure. Like, you can hang out for a while and figure out what you want to do. And then she said she wanted to go back to college to get her bachelor's so she could get her KDAC and everything. And I was like, hell yeah, I want to be a part of supporting her to do that. And that was the first time that my parole let me go out of, they gave me a pass to go watch her get her diploma in Texas.
Rad.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just a series of really positive things that I just knew God, you know what I mean, was orchestrating everything.
Yeah.
And it just kept on going, and it was really good. We had some good times there.
Yeah.
I get in my head about shit, all the time, where I'll be like, oh, am I doing what, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And just that, I don't know, call it fucking alcoholism or whatever. Just my head will start spinning out. And then it's weird because for the longest time, I'd be like, my higher power, because I was an NA dude. That's where I met you, Frank, years ago, I was an NA dude. So I was like, we don't call it God and whatever, all that. But I have these God moments, these God shots where it makes it so fucking evident that I'm right where I need to be doing right what the fuck I need to be doing, that there's no room for fucking error. There's nowhere for me to question it. And I'm just constantly, I mean, it happens time and time and time again where I'm like, all right, cool. All right, I'm right where the fuck, I need to be, right where I need,
You used to go to that 11 o'clock late night meeting, right, on Sunset Boulevard?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I know.
I remember you, Danny.
Yeah, dude, that was cool, yeah.
Those were good meetings,
Dude, so good,
Yeah,
so,
man.
yeah.
Yeah, I missed that. Yeah. Well, I told one of my sponsees recently, I said, God's will because things just flow.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in your own will when there's a lot of fear and anxiety and stress and worry, you know what I mean? Because you're kind of taking the wheel back, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I can't drive the fucking car, man. I can't take the wheel.
No self-sufficiency for me, man.
No.
So so when he first when he was on parole and we were living together, his parole officer would come out once a month or something like that. And I didn't have any experience with that, so so the parole officer comes over.
Timing. Got me.
Comes over one day early in the morning. They're banging on the door.
Oh.
And so I open the door and she, tells me to sit down. So I'm sitting down and she was asking me about myself, me and what do I do and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, I blah, 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 this and that. And then she's like, and where's Frank? And so I guess Frank was in the room or something. So I get up and I'm like, oh yeah, let me go. She's like, sit down, ma'am. And she's like, I was like, oh fuck. I was like, damn, this is this is his parole checking in on him and stuff. And it was just I was like, oh fuck, this is real. This is,
oh shit.
I don't know. I thought that was kind of.
That's amazing. Erica's all making tea and shit, huh?
My wife, the Texas beauty queen. She's not used to that
Crazy.
kind of action.
Anyway, whatever.
That's amazing. Have either one of you ever seen a ghost?
A ghost? Yeah, when I was high on drugs. I like to shadow people.
Can we hear
Why
about
do you
it?
ask? Why do you ask, Keith?
We just always ask everybody that. It's
Yeah,
just
Are we going into a paranormal
Yes.
thing now?
It's
Are we
starting.
switching over to paranormal?
I know Frank's seen a fucking ghost. All
I've
these
seen
fucking-
so much crazy shit, man.
Dude, let me tell this
Crazy
story. The neighborhood Frank grew up in was right across the street from Covina High, right? And a girl named Kim Wahlberg lived around the corner, and her dad was a biker. You remember this, right, Frank?
Mm-hmm.
So we would all hang out there after school and shit in junior high or whatever. Anyway, so push came to shove, and Kim's dad ended up getting murdered in the front yard in broad daylight. And years later, I was like, there was all of these rumors like who did it and whatever, but I was in the county jail with, you remember that Righteous One crash, Frank?
Mm-hmm.
I was in the county jail with him, and he's the one who told me. He goes, man, he broke down this story, and what it was is Kim's dad sold drugs and got this guy all fucked up, like, and like ruined the guy's life, and the guy got out and fucking butchered him. And then after that, it couldn't have been a year later. Remember, Cecil and Leilani were renting that house. They're the dead guy's friends, and then he killed Leilani and killed himself in the front yard. Same fucking house.
Wow.
Remember that?
Wow, that's crazy.
So I know Frank's seen a ghost.
Well, I honestly think that when you're on drugs, that you're like in a different realm, and I think you entered into that realm where like the ghosts are. And I think it exists. I think it exists right now. I think that I'm just in a different place right now, but I think it's still there. I think
open to it.
The ghosts or spirits or whatever you want to call it is, they're there.
What about you, Frank?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm kind of drawing a blank right now.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I've seen a lot of crazy shit in my life,
Yeah.
I can't think of the specific time. I kind of get overwhelmed with lots of thoughts of dark times. You know what I mean? Where
yeah,
I don't know if you know this. It would be you would just get that sixth sense of something bad was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Warn somebody or something, and then I'd make a decision to leave, and then you'd find out that they were murdered or whatever.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, and I would always feel those people around me.
Yeah.
Oof.
That stuff really started to freak me out in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I hear you.
It's starting to freak me out, Frank. I'll tell you right
now. It's really
I'm over here in California.
Really bad,
Right. Oh man.
But I think I just kind of grew up with a lot of really heavy spirits,
Yeah.
So I was just a little bit more accustomed to them than other people or something,
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you? Have you seen any ghosts?
Me or Mike?
Mike, have you ever seen any ghosts?
This is a tough one for me. I hate answering this question just because when I was a kid, I read in a book, don't ever say, well, I guess it's different. Don't ever say you don't believe in ghosts because one will surely appear. That was the line in the book. And I remember as a kid being noted. Okay, cool. And then the other one was, I was into ghost stories. I was super into them, but they scared the shit out of me at the same time. And it was a weird thing, and then the other one was yeah, I mean, I don't think so. No, I don't think I have had, I don't think I've had a real paranormal experience, but I do believe that it is entirely possible. And I believe people, most, not everybody, but they're, when our buddy, Chris Borer was telling those crazy stories, I'm I don't doubt that shit was going on. I do believe in it.
We got to send Frank and Erika that episode of when Danny's thing with Anton LaVey.
Oh, dude. See, there's another one. When I hear that, I totally believe it. Like, I'm just like, yeah. And
Tell
it's not
Frank
like
real
I'm
quick.
the
Tell
only
Frank and
guy.
Erika, Danny.
Yeah.
All right, so
This is so dank.
oh man, all right. So when I was like 15, and I went to Fairfax, and I had some kids. Like me and them we would get everyone's like money together, and we would go and run. Like we would ditch school and go and like run and get buds for everybody and bring it back, and then we would smoke for free. It was great. Like somebody put us on to this dude who lived kind of like right, like it was some apartments on Lafayette Place, like right by MacArthur Park. So we would go, we'd take the 217 up to, it was I guess right when like the metro red line like just started, so we could take it to like, it didn't go all the way like it goes now, but like it went from Hollywood and Highland to MacArthur Park, and we got up there, and there was this dude who had like a really nice suit on, like it was like like I don't know much about suits, but you could tell it was like a nice, like something nice, like something nicer than whatever my dad had ever had or anything I'd ever seen. And he was kind of drunk, and it was like early in the morning, 9:30, 10 in the morning, and he comes up and he goes, "Hey, you guys know, like, he's like, you guys know," and he was it's funny because he was trying to get a tattoo at I don't know what shop it was, but it was right off of Hollywood and Highland, maybe like a block east of on Hollywood, just like a block east or 2 block, like not by what was the one, there was Zebra right there, maybe like one between there and the Hollywood and Highland. And they wouldn't let him in because he was like too drunk, like, and he was like trying to throw money at him, and they were like, "No, we're not fucking tattooing you." And he's like, "Hey," he's like, "check it out." He's like, "You guys know where I could get any dope or crack or whatever?" And like, I grew up in LA, and I hadn't tried any of that stuff. Like I tried some stuff, but I hadn't tried any of that. But I knew that like, if you want to get that, you go to MacArthur Park, and he's like, "You know where I could get anything?" I got in a fight with my wife in Santa Barbara. He goes, "If you can help me get," like, he's like, I want to get some crack. I want to get some crack, some smack, and some black. He goes, "For everyone you get me, I'll give you $100. And I was like, "Dude, we'll take this guy to MacArthur Park. We'll get $300, which is like fucking more than I'd ever seen at that point in my life." I'm like, "Yeah, let's do this." And we get on the train, and he goes, "All right, before we go any further, we need to establish a trust." And I go, "What? Like, what the fuck is this for?" "Oh, before we're getting on the train, we're going to get tickets." And he's like, "Oh, I don't need a ticket because they can't see me." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So like we get tickets, and we're sitting at the train station, and he's smoking and he lights up a cigarette, and I'm like, "Dude, you're gonna get arrested." He goes, "Don't worry, they can't see me," and like, and the cops come down to like check people's tickets, and he's just smoking a cig, and they don't come fuck with us, and I'm like, something weird's going on, something's happening. I don't know what it is. And we get on the train, and he goes, "All right, we need to establish a trust." And I go, "Okay," like, and he takes out his wallet, and it was like a wallet, like it wouldn't fold because there was so many hundreds in it, like it would, like you couldn't fold the motherfucker shut. And then he took out a switchblade, and he goes, "All right, take the wallet," and he gives me the wallet, and he takes the switchblade out, and he puts it to my neck. He goes, "Now you could try to run off with my money, but I could fucking cut your neck, and I could fight, and I could like, we could even like, and you ain't going nowhere." He goes, "All right, give me the wallet." And I give him the wallet, and he gives me the knife, and he's like, "Put it on my neck," and I go, "What?" Like, it's fucking, I'm a kid. I'm like in high school. He's like, "Put it on my neck." And I'll never forget the knife, like the blade touching like the stubble on his neck, and like feeling that feeling, And he goes, "Now you could fucking slit my neck and take off with all the money," And I was like, "Fuck, this is weird."
Hey, can I just get the fuck out of here? Is that cool?
Fucking weird.
Yeah.
And he goes, "All right, now we establish a trust." And he did it with these 2 like black kids that I was with, and I would just smoke weed with them. We all did it, and they're all looking at me. They're like, "What the fuck did you get us into?" Because of course he came up to me, he gravitated towards me, and he starts telling us about himself, and he goes, "Yeah, my name's he's like, yeah, I have this castle in Santa Barbara and blah blah blah. My name's like my name's Anton, it's Anton LaVey. Like I have this whole thing about like the, he started talking about like the Satanic Bible, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, let's just get down there and get done with this so we can fucking be on our way, And as we're on the train and we're just done with that, the doors open and the cops start coming on and checking fucking tickets, And this is like those little paper tickets that you used to have, like pre-tap, like pre-tap card, whatever. And they're like, tickets. And they walk up and they fucking check every single ticket. And he was like, there was 3 of us on one side and he was on the other side. and they checked our tickets and they kept walking to the next car, you know? And I'm all, fuck, there's something weird going on. I don't know what it is, but there's something really fucking weird happening here. But we're committed. Like, we're with this dude. We're going down to MacArthur Park, you know, and we get down there and like we find the crack guy, you know, and like he's like, all right. And he would walk up to the Connect and he would be like, what do you got? I want all of it, you know? And these people would be like, what? You know, like, and they would give him whatever price it was, and he would pay him. He would give us each $100. And then he would give us each a crack rock, you know. And I had never tried smoking crack, but he got a pipe, and he was like, "All right, let's fucking, you know, like we're strengthening this trust between us, you know." And like, you take a blast, and he passes the pipe, and we take a blast, you know. And then he went to the next guy, and it was the meth guy, you know. And he's like, "How much fucking, you know?" And the guy, but he bought all the meth, you know, and he put it in a pookie, and bam, passed it. I think I'd probably tried meth at that point already, you know. Passed the pipe around. I was like, all right, and then we got to the heroin guy, you know, and like. And he gave us each a balloon, but he didn't like, you know, like he didn't have a syringe. We were out and like there was something that happened, you know, so we didn't quite shoot up. And then he was like, all right, I need to get coke and then like be on my way, you know. And he found like because of MacArthur Park and like this is like 99, you know, there wasn't much coke, like powder cocaine going around in those days on the street. And he found a guy, and the guy's like, I'm gonna take you with me, but the fucking like we're all kids in our uniform from Fairfax High, you know, like he's like the kids are staying here, you know. And they walked off, and we look at each other. We're like, let's get the fuck out of here. Like, we each got $300. We're going to the weed man. We're like high out of our fucking mind at this point, you know? And we split and we took off, you know? And we're like, whatever. We like never saw the guy again. We get on the train. We're coming back. We're like, that was fucking weird, you know? But we had now like this realm had been open for us, and we had tried these fucking weird substances. Like all this stuff happened, you know? And I remember telling the story to somebody like years later, you know, I was like, yeah, the guy's name was fucking like Anton LaVey. They're like, dude, do you know who the fuck Anton? Like, you know, I'm like, no, he said he was like wrote some fucking dumb fucking satanic, like, you know, like some dumb shit, you know, because I always thought it was kind of weird, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, are you sure it wasn't Anton LaVey? And I'm like, fuck, I don't know, you know, and I look up a fucking photo of, you know, and I fucking look him up on Wikipedia. And sure as shit, it's that fucking dude, you know, the fucking
That's so wild.
fucking bald head, you know. But then even crazier, I look up the year that he passed away, and it was like a few years prior to that happening to
Yeah.
us.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's the trippiest thing. I just looked him up online just now. And when you said 99 and I saw he died in 97, I was like, that's a bummer. That's not a good thing.
I mean, I didn't start high school until 1999. I was supposed to graduate in 03, so there's no way I would have been in fucking 6th grade. Like, there's no way. The time doesn't fucking match up, you know?
Wow.
But also, it opened up this fucking, like, you know, like this realm of darkness for me that otherwise, like, you know, I never tapped into, you know?
Yeah, I'm not into that.
You know, what this is all making me think about is that book, The Hungry Ghost. You ever heard of that book?
No.
The Hungry Ghost, it's a book about addiction. And it talks about the spirit of addiction being a hungry ghost. And to me, like puts addiction in a perfect light, because the more you feed it, the more stronger it gets.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
yeah,
as they say, one's too many, 1,000's never enough. And but how, you know, feed the white dog or the black dog, but that it's always kind of there. It never goes away. Like you were saying, if you were opened up to this realm, and once you've been exposed to it, you know it's always there, but you learn to live in the light, you know, and you learn to live in another spiritual realm. And like for me, you know, I kind of grew up in that realm. You know, my mother was into the occult, and you know, it was like biker, you know what I mean? They were all on some like super serious, you know what I mean, Black Sabbath type shit, you know what I mean?
There was like, definitely a level of wizardry.
The 70s, yeah, wizardry and sorcery. Yeah,
for sure.
Like I grew up with this heavy, dark, you know, spiritual, you know, energy, you know. I forget who wrote that book, but it's really good. Gabor Mate.
Oh yeah.
A really good book. But so for me, like when we're talking about ghosts and stuff, I think about a lot of like, it's almost too many, you know what I mean, situations where you just get all kinds of weird signs and stuff. And it's funny, we talk about drug psychosis, but I don't know if you've ever been in drug psychosis and you'll have a conversation with someone else that's in psychosis and you guys are totally making sense, right? It's like they absolutely know what the fuck you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that works, you know, even till today in sobriety. Like, I remember having specific conversations with people that I just don't know how the fuck they knew what they knew. I don't know how they, you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
I know like this, the more I sank into the underworld and organized crime, you know, networks, it's like they were all connected and would know things that you wouldn't know, but still it was some like dark spiritual shit. You know what I mean?
I don't care what anybody says. When you're up for a few days on speed, there's some weird fucking conversations that do make sense.
No,
It's unexplainable.
Shit, man.
for sure.
You know?
Like that, there is that thing. And also I think there's a quality to meth where you're like, like day 2 or so, you're definitely starting to tingle. Like shit does start to feel magical, if you want to call it that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, you know, I don't think I've gone more than 3. I think it's probably the duration. I'm a bit of a, well, I'll say it, a bit of a pussy. But no, I just, I you know, whatever. That would usually just be when I fell asleep naturally. I get sleepy, in general. I do, but you are there is a hyper perception sense that you feel. I mean, I am I wrong or am I right? You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
Yes.
It's an illusion. It's a chemically induced illusion. I don't think you are more perceptive in any way, but you're definitely tuned into a frequency that is very unique and very specific. And yeah, when you talk to other people who are tuned into that frequency, you can be like, no, you get it. Right. You get it. And, you know, but unfortunately, not everybody's tuned in. Or fortunately, not everybody's tuned in.
Yeah.
Fortunately, not everybody's
Well,
tuned in.
you know, like right now in Austin, I mean, I don't know if any of you have ever visited Austin.
Oh, yeah.
I work on 6th Street. I work right in the heart of it.
Copy
And
that.
business is good. A lot, like we shared earlier, a lot of the restaurants and bars are open, but there's not the volume of people that are normally there.
Right.
College kids and tourists. There's not all the music venues open. And so now, I think it was like Sandra Bullock or something opened up that Arc, and it's like a homeless shelter, and it's just on 7th Street. Now Joe Rogan has bought the Barracudas across the street, and he's going to do a comedy club there. But what I mean to say is there is an abundance of homeless people like in Venice. And now you notice it a lot more because there's not so many other people. You know, they don't get lost. All you're seeing is them. And like on the corner from my shop, there's a group of really, I don't know if they're homeless, but they're really, really, really poor black kids, and they sell drugs there. They're there every day. Even if it's raining, they're out there in their raincoats. Like they do not stop serving drugs, you know? And there's just such a strange spirit, you know, for me that I'm 6 years sober, and I go down there, and I'm not triggered by that at all. My mother just died of cancer about 2 weeks ago, and that was more triggering for me, you know, emotionally. But I'm not triggered by any of that. But you know, you'll fear. You know, there's all these like they're mad. You know, they're mentally ill. They walk the streets, and they're shaking, and they're shuffling, and they're talking, and you know they're in another spiritual realm. It's not just mental illness. You know what I mean? Like they're somewhere, you know, that we can't see it, but they can see it. You know, it's real to them, you know. And that's, you know, another reason, like everything we're talking about is like trying to normalize these things and try to talk about more solutions. You know what I mean? They're even outside the realm of health insurance can provide, or you know what I mean, what the program can provide, what the government is willing to provide, but like what we can, you know, collectively, as you know what I mean, like citizens, as spiritual people can do to help people, you know what I mean, kind of pull them into the light and out of the realm of the hungry ghost, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
So Erika, what's the next step? What do you guys need help with? Is it fundraising, or what would be the next, you know?
Yeah. So we have a few things. We want to do more
Mm.
events. I guess that we have an upcoming event in March that we're kind of getting together, which is we're putting together all of the docuseries that we did, and we're just making it into one documentary film where we're going to present it to people and kind of show them what kind of work we're doing. Just kind of spread the word and stuff. And working with other organizations like the AFSP and Shatterproof and things like that, and continuing to share stories. So yeah, if you know of anyone that, you know, you can send over to us that would like to share their story, we want to celebrate them as well. And it's, you know what, it's still unfolding kind of naturally, you know.
Yeah.
Probably going to start our own Zoom meeting, like a Monday Madness. We Are Those People AA meeting.
Okay.
You know, but yeah, we got to raise funds, but we're trying to, what is it? Your vibe attracts your tribe. You know what I mean? We're trying to like, we've built the scale, you know, build it, they'll come. You know, we've built the platform. You know, we got the 501c3. You know, we've been making the docu-series, you know, so Erika did her TED Talk. So, you know.
And then we're going to do season 2 coming up soon.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of supportive people in the tattoo industry, you know what I mean?
Well, that's great.
So, you know, maybe we can even do some tattoo, you know, We Are Those People can sponsor some events in the future, some tattoo conventions, some music venues, trying to attract creative people or at least inspire people to be more creative with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, to raise awareness, you know. We're not, it's funny because, you know, we're not taking the conventional route about things, you know what I mean? We're trying to keep it authentic, you know what I mean?
Well, whatever you need from us, you know, I mean, I've been doing stuff with like Feed the Streets, and then we also do like, I've been volunteering with I was a frequent customer at the Hollywood Needle Exchange. I've been able to like flip it around, and like I've, you know, up until COVID, I was there every Sunday volunteering, because like, I mean, it's a fucking miracle that I didn't get Hep C or HIV just sharing the amount of IV needles I did. And I learned how to like do Narcan, and like, you know, I would like, every time we give somebody Narcan, we ask if they're you know, if it's something that they know how to use. So like I would be training people, and now it's like I get to take it out to the world, you know. And we did a thing at Homeboy Industries last year where like for their youth program, and we were able to train their youth and provide Narcan for them. So whatever you guys need from me, you know, I mean, anything from Feed the Streets, anything.
Yeah, we'd like to share your story, or if there's any other people that you know that would like to share their story and participate, you know.
Yeah,
Danny will do it for sure. We have a bunch of people for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Instagram, a ton of them. Danny, Hassan.
Let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's what we do. We share people's stories, and that's our way of raising awareness and spreading hope to people who wouldn't otherwise be able to hear these kinds of stories.
Right.
That's the whole purpose behind it, really. I actually met with some paramedics here in Austin. I believe it's called Mobilize Austin. I can't remember. I'm getting that sucks. But Daniel Sledge, he works as a paramedic in here in Austin, and he gave us a bunch of Narcan, and but we haven't been able to do any trainings or anything like that.
Right.
COVID happened, and that really kind of stopped us from doing a lot of things. But we're gonna keep pushing to do more things. And
Yeah.
I would love to learn to do what you're doing, Danny. I think that's a great service.
The next time they come out, we got to get Erika and Frank over there, Danny.
Oh,
Are you working in treatment, Danny? Is that what you do?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Where do you work?
I work at Aloe House.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's good stuff. That's what, people need to learn about, Narcan and how to use it and administer it and things like that. I think that's important. So.
I gotta come out. I gotta make a trip out to Austin and come hang with you guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're welcome to come out anytime, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's Austin's like an experience in itself,
It's an amazing city.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Yeah,
you would love it, Danny.
A lot of good hiking, a lot of good meetings, good
swimming holes and shit. It's great.
Oh, yeah. I've been to Austin once, and it's funny because I got a homie that's got I think he's coming up on 3 years sober now, and he came around, and I was like, dude, Chris, how you been? And he was like, he was like, it's like if somebody sees you and it's like they seen a ghost, and like, let me get your number and whatever. And he was like, dude, he's like, I'm gonna be honest. He's like, I'm gonna be honest. He's like, I had your phone number blocked in my phone for 10 years, and I was like, what the hell no, He's like, yeah, I couldn't fuck with you, but look at these photos I found. He started sending me these photos, and I go, what the fuck? When's this from? We're in a car, we're on a road trip. He's like, it's when we went to South by Southwest. I was like, bro, I've never been to South by Southwest. He's like, yes, you have. And there's a whole thing of photos, and I completely have no recollection of
No way.
Wow.
Like, if it wasn't for these photos, I would put money that he was lying, that he was making this up,
Yeah.
So I could technically say, I guess I've maybe somewhat. Yeah, I mean, there's photo evidence that proves that I've been to Austin, but I've never been to Austin, But I ain't never been to Austin. Yeah. So I'm ready to, make my living amends by going back there and see.
Well, what's interesting is they were preparing for South by Southwest. They were setting up all the guardrails last year, and I had gotten the word from my stepmother. Her cousin is Janet Pierce, who runs South by Southwest. That all the big companies were backing out, and they were going to cancel it. And I was telling the guys at my work, and they were like, "Shut up, Frank! You know what you're talking about? Like I'm the California guy, and I'm in Austin, and I don't know shit, and they were almost getting upset with me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, I'm just telling you, what I was told. And that was like a big moment, right? For COVID, South by Southwest got shut down.
Oh yeah.
You would think
it was like the domino, right? And then South by Southwest got canceled, then this got canceled, then that. Everything followed that,
oh yeah.
Because it's a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they shut it down, man. And
they shut down Sundance. No one's, Sundance is all virtual. They shut down Burning Man. They shut down everything. I mean,
Coachella, everything, yeah.
Stagecoach, but the first one was South by Southwest. And I was reading about it, and there's rumors at South by Southwest, and then when it got shut down, I remember being like, oh damn, this shit's gonna fucking, this is
crazy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had already started wearing a mask before, and guys were clowning me. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't want to get sick, man. Because I was already in survival mode. Mm-hmm. And if you were addicts like us, right? Like you, Danny, and we've been through so many crises in our addictions, right? Mm-hmm. We'd have to figure out how we're gonna survive jail, or to get our next drugs, or the drug deal gone wrong, or you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It was I was kind of used to it, right? Here's a crisis, right?
Dude, I'll tell you, I mean, never, definitely not. And Keith knows me well. I'm definitely not a stranger to bad decisions. I was as persistent in my efforts as I could be. I did the best work I could do. But yeah, this whole friggin' lockdown, man. I haven't been off my property in months and months. I haven't been off my property. I think I've been off the property 3 times in the last year, or whatever it is. Whenever March 13th to now, so February, yeah, almost a year. And I won't say that I'm not losing my mind a little. But so far, you know, I'm talking to myself all the time. I do that anyway. It's a thing I do anyway. But so far, nobody is answering, or at least they're not answering in a different voice.
His
And
ceiling,
his
his ceiling caved in like 6 months ago.
My ceiling caved in. Yeah, see? Ceiling.
Oh, no.
There is it.
Oh.
Hi.
Oh.
There's my sunroof. Beep.
Jeez.
I still have my Christmas stuff up because it stays up till Super Bowl.
Why not?
Why not? Who cares? Tell me who's coming over?
Been there for a year.
Who the hell's coming over to judge me? So I live like an old lady. Who gives a shit? I don't care. I got the Christmas tree up too over there. Forget it.
Oh my God, that's great.
Mom had
It's
2
keeping
Christmas
plant
trees
company. That's my only friend right there.
Yeah.
So whatever.
That's
It's
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
dig it.
It'll be all right. I hope.
Well, for me, it's been kind of weird because I mean, I came to Austin, and well, I married into it. You know, my wife's from Texas, and you know,
Yeah.
we have reasons to come here. But then this happened, and like now everybody's moving to Austin. You know, like Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, Dave Chappelle's here. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
all of Silicon Valley has moved here.
Yeah,
The
Elon
furniture
got
stores- the furniture
fussy.
stores are sold out for like 3 months because they can't keep up with supplying everyone for furniture that's moving here. It's so bizarre.
Well, California got a little frustrated with Elon because he was like, okay, week 2 of COVID, forget it. Get back in the factory. Start cranking, bitches. It was just like, all right, pal, go then. Go with God.
Yeah,
whatever
it's
you want."
wild. You know, all these big tech, you know, Oracle and Google and Uber and all this. It's just wild, man.
Those fools don't give a shit. They don't give a shit.
It's pretty wild, man. It just trips me out. It's like California followed me here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
everybody's leaving, and I don't understand why everybody left New York City. Now you can go online and literally online, and by that I mean the internet. No, but you can go online to Zillow or whatever and find apartments, like 1-bedroom apartments in Manhattan for $1,800. Not
That's
necessarily
so
okay.
wild.
Not necessarily Manhattan. I take that back. But we're
Yeah.
talking Brooklyn, not
Yeah.
Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, like fine, totally good, hip neighborhood, like nice neighborhoods with resources. And that hasn't happened in LA. The rents are still, you're just like, oh, cool, studio apartment, $2,000.
Oh, no.
Hell,
No.
fucking awesome. Like, what is that?
Yeah,
about?
that doesn't make sense to me either. But you know, like they're charging like twice as much for a moving truck to leave California and go to other destinations or leave New York. Now, it doesn't cost as much if you rent the truck and go back to those places, but it's because there's such a shortage in moving trucks.
No
And, you know,
way.
and yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty wild.
So if I leave LA and go to Nebraska, they're going to charge me a shit ton more than if I were going from Nebraska to LA.
Yeah.
Our friend told us that it's actually less expensive if you take the truck to Nebraska, say, and then drive it back than if you just leave it in Nebraska, because there's too many people that are exiting and not coming back.
Yeah,
Wow.
right.
That's why it's so much money. You know what I mean? It's like bizarre. And like even the thing with the furniture stores being sold out, and these are massive,
Furniture
they're like
stores.
huge, like
Massive.
Home Depots of furniture,
Yeah.
IKEA and rooms to go, and they're sold out.
Wow.
Tripping me out, man. Or like they're outbidding people on homes,
Yeah.
and like now the homes are going like 100,000 over market value because of all Silicon Valley coming here, and they're selling their houses for a couple million or whatever coming here, and it's like a big joke. Like, you know what I mean? Like 200 or 300,000 or for a house. You know, it's just trips me out.
Big,
Wow.
yeah.
Crazy.
So mixed, right? That
Yeah.
big tech thing. It's so mixed, right? You're like, sometimes you're like, there's there's good stuff you're on the right side of. And then it's like we were talking, you know, whatever. The thing you'd said earlier about the pharmaceutical companies versus, I mean, if you were to compare the ethics, just the sheer, let's even just talk about economic ethics of a drug dealer versus a pharmaceutical company. If you go buy a bag of Coke from a drug dealer and he charges you $80 or whatever, say it's 1985, and so whatever you go buy that Coke, you don't go back 2 weeks later and he's like, you know, it's crazy. That was a really hot batch, and a lot of people seem to want it, so it's $450 now a gram. But if you need an HIV medication and you're like, hey, this is great, I'm on this HIV medication and everybody loves it and it's doing a great job and it's helping everybody, just give it time and that shit'll be $700 and that's legal. Okay, like what's that about?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know, man. Some wild stuff going on in the world, but like I said, if you've been in the recovery community, like Danny, you know, working in treatment, or Keith, I mean, you've watched an evolution and a progression, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's on the highest levels of government. You know what I mean? And it's like the insurance fraud,
Yeah.
you know, the body brokering, you know what I mean? All the corruption that's going on. And then, you know, big pharma and their medications that have worse side effects than they provide any solutions is just wild to me, you know?
Dude, you reminded me of something. Erika, did you ever hear of this one called Topamax? Does that ring a bell? Frank, you ever heard of it?
Oh wait, yeah, Topamax. It's a medication.
Yeah, it was like
I never took it though, but
this was like the early 2000s, but it, you know, when they were giving everybody like Topamax, or you know, like Zoloft and you know, Lexapro and all that.
Yeah.
But they gave this girl I knew, I think Frank knew her, my friend Robin, but they gave her Topamax, and she got super. It was like speed. She got super thin and would just like talk all the time. But then other girls that were friends of hers, I remember all of a sudden like 5 or 6 of these girls I knew, they were all subscribed Topamax and all getting skinny and shit. But it was like they were on speed, you know, and this doctor was just
Adderall.
Like Wellbutrin.
getting skinny, you say? What was the name of that?
Adderall, yeah.
Topamax.
Okay, listen,
Okay.
I can be a pretty little high school girl.
But they were just like, it was crazy, man. They were all on it, and then it was an anti-seizure medication.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
But that's like
I was at a sober living and they wouldn't allow us to take Wellbutrin because I guess that's kind of speedy too.
yeah. Also, Wellbutrin is the generic version of what's the stop smoking medication from years ago?
Stop smoking.
Chantix? Not Chantix, before Chantix. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Like 20 years ago, there was something with a Z.
Nicorette?
No, it was something with a Z, but Wellbutrin's the same thing. And they were giving people Wellbutrin and they stopped smoking. And that's why they rebranded
Zantac?
it. No, it's something like that, though.
Yeah.
Zyban.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were giving people Wellbutrin. Those people were quitting smoking. So they literally rebranded it to stop smoking medication.
If it sounds like the last name of a studio executive, it's absolutely a high-level pharmaceutical.
Exactly.
Barry Zantac and Jonathan Zyban.
Do you still smoke, Danny?
Oh yeah, cigs, yeah. Oh yeah.
You never smoked, did you, Frank? I don't remember.
Never smoked.
Wow.
Never smoked. My mom, you know, she was died of cancer. And my grandfather died of cancer when I was a kid, and it was so traumatizing to me that I never smoked. And it was so bizarre to me that my grandmother and my mother and my aunt continued to smoke, and they would talk so highly of my grandfather. Like he was like almost this Romanesque figure in my family. Everybody loved him to death, and cigarettes killed him, but they all kept smoking, and it killed all of them too.
All of them?
All of them. They all died. It killed my grandmother, my mother's sister, and finally it killed her. And it was just so strange to me.
That was also part of it. I don't know how old your mom was, and I'm terribly sorry for your loss. It's brutal. But there was a generational thing, and I remember seeing it in my family for sure, where you'd have old timers sitting around smoking, talking about old timers that had passed from cigarettes, oh yeah, Marcello, they'd be sitting around drinking coffee, oh yeah, Marcello, he died of lung cancer, da, da, da. My Uncle Jerry, they all smoke, and every single one of them that passed of cigarette smoking smoked until the day they died, or, until they couldn't. And I was always like, wow, that's a trip. But I don't know, maybe it came from an era where that was a treat to have a cig. I don't know.
You remember it was like advertising really pushed it in the 30s.
Oh God, 40s, yeah. 50s. Yeah, no, those are people who grew up being told that it was a good way to relax.
Yeah.
Like it's healthy to have a cigarette,
Oh, there was times when I've seen the ads and they're like 9 out of 10 doctors say Marlboros are the safest cigarettes to smoke, or I don't know. It's just my prayer is that you quit smoking, Danny. You know what I mean? Like, I just want people to live long, healthy lives. My wife's parents are in their 90s, and my mother died at 64. Wow. My father, he's in his 70s, he doesn't smoke. And it's one of those things where it's like tomorrow, and then you get into your 60s and it's like, you're probably going to want to live that extra 30 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it'll shave off some years off your life that maybe when you're younger, you don't think you want, but until you get there,
My old man always used to say the same thing. When I was a kid, I'd be like, hey, I'd hear someone had cooled it, and someone in the family or his friend or something, and an older person, and I'd be like, well, 85, you're in your 20s, I was in my teens, 20s, 85, that seems like a good age. He's like, till you're 84 and a half. And I was like, point taken, sir. Yeah. It was a little dark around my house too, but I'm just saying. Just like till you're 84 3/4. Like, oh yeah, right.
How old did Buddy Cianci live until, Mike?
70. He died young, man. 74, 75. Chain smoke. Long time smoker, drinker. But he died of cancer. I think it was some kind.
You got to send Crime Town to Erika as well. She'll like that.
Stomach.
Yeah.
Oh
Mike was the
yeah.
assistant to this criminal governor in Providence, Rhode Island. Mayor, sorry.
No.
Who literally got convicted, went to prison, got out, and won the election again.
Wow.
How our society celebrates outlaws,
Yeah,
man.
Celebrate outlaws, you know what I mean?
It was, man. He's a punk rock mayor for sure. I mean, and then when he went to prison, or no, he got a suspended sentence. He got kicked out of office, had to give up the mayor's office because he assaulted a man who he thought was having sex with his ex-wife. Like, not even his wife. Like, they were in the proceedings of a divorce.
Some ego boundary problems, huh?
Yeah, you don't do that. Like, I know, even if I threw that pizza in the garbage, you cannot eat that pizza. You disrespect me. And it was like, okay, that's awesome. Italians are brilliant. And then got back into office, ran again. That's when I worked for him, when he came back to office. So you can imagine he was pretty shy at that point. It was just like, hey, what do I do? I wait 7 years and I just go back to work. And that's fine. And then I bailed out because I was like, these fools are going to get arrested. And also I just wanted to do something else with my life. and they all wound up, and he and another family friend of mine wound up in prison. About whatever it was, 2005 or something. I think 2002, maybe something like that.
Oh,
The early aughts,
Crazy.
they got in trouble. Yeah,
wow.
didn't work out. Anyway,
Well, I think we're good, right?
I feel
Good on
good.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. We have two little dogs that are just dying to see us.
Oh,
What kind of puppers?
The Chihuahuas.
Well, one's a min
Yeah.
pin.
One's a min pin, one's a blue Chihuahua.
They
Oh,
look
wow.
like mice when
I
Frank's holding
fucking
them.
love
Funny
those
as
dogs.
shit.
I love the Chihuahua. Have you
Love
seen
those
that?
dogs.
Are you on Instagram?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen that Instagram video of the guy? He's a black dude.
Yeah.
And it looks like super
like
ripped, dude.
clean.
And he's just like, he takes his little, and he's like, let's wash your face.
Yeah.
I love you. He always tells a dog, and he has a couple of these amazing videos, and he's like, give me your hand. It's like, that's not a hand, it's a foot. Give me your hand and your other hand. He's like, give me your foot and your other foot. And he gets them all cleaned up in the morning to go.
And he
It's so
puts on
good.
different outfits and yeah.
He puts them in different outfits. It's the
So
best.
cute.
It's
So
awesome.
Yeah, it's like Mickey Rourke. He loves fucking Chihuahuas too.
Dude,
He takes
Yeah.
all his like. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm down with Mickey Rourke, dude.
fuck yeah, man. Who isn't
I
down with Mickey Rourke?
don't know.
Who isn't down with?
I fucking love these dogs. I gotta tell you,
That's
they're
awesome.
amazing.
Excellent.
All right.
Chief,
Thanks, you guys.
so much for inviting us. And thank
Thank
you guys
you.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you for
thank
coming
so
on.
much. Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having us.
guys. Good
We
to see
are
you,
those
Frank.
people
Yeah.
on Instagram. We are
Oh,
those
yes.
the website as well.
We are those PPL on Instagram.
We are those PPL. And we'll
On-
tag it on the Instagram as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I
Thanks,
just
Erika.
called you guys. Anything you need from me, yeah,
All right,
I'm
good
here
night,
for
you
it.
guys.
Yeah,
All right,
have
good
a
night.
good
So
night. Thank
much.
you so
Come
much.
visit.
All right.
Come
Yeah.
visit Austin.
Yeah, I
All right.
will. I will.
Yay.
You have my word. I'm gonna come
Bye.
visit.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Bye, you
Bye.
guys. Have
Bye.
a good night.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
wait,
too.
hold on. Frank wants to show you his dog.
Oh, the
Oh,
puppers.
let's see the
Yay.
dog.
Let's see them. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Fucking right.
Wow.
Fucking right.
Oh,
Fucking amazing.
look.
Oh
This is
man.
Paco and this is Mimi.
Wow.
Oh,
Bye, you guys.
Bye,
Paco's
guys.
a good
Have a
boy.
Bye guys.
Take care.
All right.
Have a good night. Thanks for listening to another episode of It's All Bad. Find us wherever you listen to your podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. Like and subscribe. Shoot us a rating. Reach out to us on social media. If you want to tell us some stories. I got a suggestion from somebody that we should go on Clubhouse, so I'm trying to figure it out. I got some more invites, so we might have an upcoming Clubhouse episode coming up. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for
We'll
listening.
See you next week.
Go get a coffee from Cafe de Leche.
Oh, yes.
Hell yes. Later.
Thanks.
Bye.